Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's been a few days since I've posted anything, so I figured on today's topic I will discuss regarding what I was writing about last night, which was about consciousness and what exactly is consciousness. So this can be a very broad question, obviously, for many reasons, as everyone has different sets of belief systems and different religious belief systems and so on. And it could be expressed in different forms and described different ways. So, because of that, I could only speak for myself and my awareness on the topic and why I know it to be this way or feel it to be this way as it resonates with me from my own experience and no one else's. So, in this journey of mine that I've been transitioning and finding myself spiritually, mentally, physically, in every aspect of what makes me me, I have been rediscovering myself in new ways, in different forms of being and thinking and perceiving, and gaining more clarity and awareness of myself doing so. And in gaining more clarity and awareness of myself, I've noticed that I've also been gaining more clarity on everything that is, as for everything that exists around us, from from a plant to water to air to land to souls and animals and so on, right? Everything has a like fragment of consciousness in it, right? There's a bigger source above everything making this, right? Whether you want to call that source, energy, God, there is a flow, there is a process, there is a formula of orchestration that happens to make creation altogether. And from my own experiences and my resonance with the information that I've come about, I realized that it's a never-ending cycle as it keeps going over and over again in infinite versions of itself through dimension after dimension, layer after layer, right? It's like energy can never be created, it can never be destroyed. Therefore, it's an infinite cycle of layers of consciousness rediscovering itself. So, just like my curiosity to learn more and discover more and learn more about myself and how we function as human beings, as living human beings, as spiritual beings, as energetic spiritual human beings, I realize that with that same curiosity that triggers me to rediscover myself and everything around me is what enlightens a conscious being, right? Because I've noticed that the more I've learned, the more I've developed and the more I've retained and the more I am connected with, because life happens for you and not to you, right? And what I mean by this is life is similar to what we call a game, right? A game of life where we come and we start in stages. They give us these weaknesses, they give us these strengths, but it is up to us to let our weaknesses deceive us in the illusion, or we remember our strengths. So in order for us to do so, life has to give us scenarios, life events, and people in our life that are going to trigger those strengths, that are going to trigger those weaknesses. And it is in our free will to decide whether we want to give into our weaknesses or give into our strengths, as that is the free will we are given in this game. Now, the only inconvenience in the game is we can't remember what we came to do. The whole game is to remember who you are by going through life and experiencing what you have to experience, that will be so profound in some events, that you have no choice but to remember who you are, because that is the only choice that you are given. So life happens for you and not to you. And this is what I want people to start understanding, because once you start developing this awareness of yourself, you start realizing why things happen for you and learn the lesson and then keep moving. Therefore, you graduate. Because what happens is with each event, each person that we perceive as a lesson and we learn the lesson from and we learn the reasoning behind that, we gain more clarity. We gain more awareness of ourselves. And when we gain more awareness of ourselves, we go to the next level of ourselves, right? Because we already developed, we already graduated that level. And the only way I can put the whole process of consciousness, because at the end of the day, this game of life is to see how far we can get at this level. Meaning, the evolution of consciousness is at play here. Wanting to see how us forgetting who we are can come into this stage of a planet, right? This stage of a planet, forgetting who we are, but remembering who we are with life events. So the game is to remember who you are with each and everything that happens to you, as it happens for you and not to you, so that you can remember. And in gaining clarity of who you are, which each event, each person that you are able to perceive with an awareness, a high elevated awareness that this is not happening for me, this is happening for me to develop an awareness, not to me, to torture me and to make me suffer. This is not what the game is. But if you get stuck in the illusion of that, what happens is you're losing the game. And not only are you losing the game, you're continuing the cycle of that one suffering, because you cannot let go of that momentum of events. So if you stay stuck in that story and play the victim about, oh, this happened to me and you don't understand, and you know, and if that happened to you, that are all these things, that's all irrelevant to the bigger picture. So what happens when you elevate consciously? You see life as a director and not a character inside of the movie, for example, inside the game. You gain enough clarity and consciousness that you start playing the game as the gamer and not the avatar inside the game. And that's exactly how it's functioning for people that elevate a certain level. And how do you get to elevated levels of consciousness? You have to pass the first stages courses, which is life events, which is your molding, your upbringing, the upbringing that you can't let go of and you think it was done to you and not for you. And you, instead of analyzing what was right and what was wrong and overcoming it and letting it go, then you pass that stage. You can't hold on to your molding. It's supposed to break you to make you. It's supposed to happen to you so that you remember your strength from it. Because even though something like that happens to you, but who are you? If you remember who you are, then that's nothing. That's only the script to your game. That's only the storyline to the game that you decided to come play. So are you going to win this game of life, or are you going to lose the game of life? It's really up to you, as you have the free will to choose. And once you gain this clarity, then your awareness increases. And once your awareness increases, it's almost like, the best way I can put this is, you know, when you buy a new phone, right? You want an upgraded phone because the new version came out. So you go get a new phone. You don't exchange the old phone, you just keep your old phone there. So now the old phone that you had is sitting in a drawer, for example, and it's not being used. It's not even connected to the internet. Nothing's happening. The only thing it has is the information that's been there before. So let's say us, like phones, we remain in our old version based on the molding that our starting stages gave us. No upgrades coming in, just whatever we got from the beginning, from a childhood to whatever time it might be until now. That's all the molding we have. That's all the experiences we have. We define our characteristics based on those experiences, and we stay stuck in that. So now we have no upgrades, no nothing, no internet, right? So we're not connected. So consciousness, when defined, is a state of awake, right? When you're awake, you wake up in the morning, you're conscious, you're consciously functioning. What happens is, when you're not awake, you're functioning on default. You're functioning on whatever ability you have because you're not conscious, right? So when people say a person is woke, That's basically what they mean. They're consciously playing the game of life while others are walking deads. Basically the same concept. So metaphorically speaking, if we were to think that walking deads are people that just not connected, that's already currently happening. There's so many people. Even there's so many people that are waking up and are conscious of their self and how life functions and are developing and evolving because they keep improving themselves. They keep pushing forward and becoming better than who they were yesterday. And that's putting them in the direction of growth, right? Anything that is pushing forward is evolving, and anything that evolves increases in their capacity and functionality. Just like phones get upgrades, everything starts working better, there's new features, and not only that, you get upgrades, but you're connected to source. You're connected to the internet. The internet is a network of information that connects all devices, that connects individuals through devices, right? So if you think about it on that perspective, are you connected to your source or are you not? Because a conscious person would be consciously functioning with connecting to source, connecting to their higher self, connecting to the web of information that is our consciousness. Consciousness is just information that we can retain. Every single one of us, if we gain the clarity and the awareness of the levels that we have to pass in life, we gain the password to the Wi-Fi of that consciousness. Just like you need a passcode to go in someone's house, you go in someone's house, you have your phone, you say, give me your passcode. Yes, they can give it to you, right? But life is not like that. Life is for you to figure out your own password to your own Wi-Fi, which each and every event that you overcome, with each level that you overcome, and each obstacle that you gain your clarity from and learn your lesson from, that's giving you one letter to your password, right? And then once you pass these levels and you don't get stuck in these illusions of life and fears and scarcity and doubts and insecurities and thinking you're not worthy and thinking you're not even potentially capable of doing anything of that nature, that's disempowering yourself. That's not powerful information. Why would you limit yourself with disempowering your own belief systems that are only going to keep you trapped in the illusion of limitations? This is a time that we have to take in consideration all that is happening to us as something that is happening for us and not to us. Taking the information, taking the experience, and taking the people that are in our life and learning those lessons, being able to step out of the bubble of the emotional state and controlling our emotional state, because at the end of the day, the mastery, the self-mastery of self comes from being aware of all this, one, and being aware of how you're behaving under these circumstances. What are you doing? Are you working in your best potential? Are you working in your divine self as your higher self? Or are you working in fear? Are you surviving? Are you being deceitful? Are you having lack of integrity for yourself and others? Because when you have lack of integrity for others, it's not necessarily lack of integrity for others. You have lack of integrity for yourself. So this is another thing. When people are doing things that are deceitful or lack of integrity, it's not defining you, the person receiving it, it's defining them as a person, as they cannot even be that for themselves. For people only reflect who they feel within themselves. For people can only reflect how they truly define themselves for what they do to themselves. It's only reflecting back to us. This is another thing. You start looking at people that do you wrong differently. You almost feel sorry for them. You start feeling sorry for people that are not conscious, because they're functioning on illusions. They're functioning on the weakest part of themselves, which is not capable to even withstand the level that they can be at as a conscious being. So the process of life is developing that awareness to reach elevated levels of consciousness, where we are now playing the game of life rather than being in the game of life. You know, let's not be the characters of life anymore. Let's be the directors of life. Let's direct our life and dictate what's happening in our life, as we are the authors and we are the creators of our own life. Yes, there is a source above us, but you see how our hands have 5 fingers? We only see the fingers. We only think we are divided. We are all one. Just like everything inside of us works together, we are all one working together in this existence. As there's, I'm not even going to go into detail of what exactly we are doing, but I'm going to keep it on the basics. Fingers are connected by the hand, which is, let's say, the source. But the hand is connected to something else. And then that something else is connected to a whole body. So it's infinite, like, possibilities and layers to this reality. So it's not something that ends at a God, because that God would have a God, and then that God would have a God, and it's infinite. There's no such thing as something that's over us. It's just a creation of consciousness that wanted to experience itself through the creation of self, through another possibility. Just like we are humans creating what we create in our expression in the now. Whether you are an artist, a writer, a movie director, anybody, even the person that creates phones, they use their ability to connect to infinite possibilities of how something can be created, using their mind, using their heart. Because in reality, consciousness is the combination of both things, the mind and the heart. Having the curiosity of the mind to think, but having the heart to feel what feels right. Because consciousness works with both things. So to kind of give you some kind of definition of that, these things are opposite, right? So the polarity of creation is what exists to create consciousness altogether, to create the consciousness of what we have existing within us. So the yin yang, for example, the yin yang is something that we all know about. It's opposites, right? Opposite energies working together, creating a force. That force is now what creates an awareness, creates something to start processing and becoming something further. So a force that can expand because it is a force altogether. So when using both combined, it becomes a force that can expand in its creation, which would be consciousness. Consciousness is just a triggered thought that happened. Let's say consciousness started this. I'm just going to put this as an example, or maybe truth, whatever, however you may perceive it. Consciousness, if there was an atom inside a blank, nothing, a room, a dark room, there's no light, there's no nothing, so it can't perceive anything, it can't see anything, it can't feel anything, it can't do anything. It could only think. It could only have a sense of this, of wanting to discover, a desire, because now curiosity is what triggers consciousness to discover itself. It's in our curiosity that we rediscover ourselves. Is in our questioning that we learn new things, right? This is what consciousness is a process, a flow of question after question, the discovery after discovery, development after development, evolution after evolution. It is starting with a question. What am I? What am I feeling? What is this room? What am I looking at in this dark room? There's nothing around me, but I felt something. It's only when you feel that you question something. And that's how consciousness, to me, how I perceived it, how I saw it in my head when I thought that question, this is how I saw it. The only way I can explain it to you in this metaphor. If a thought that's nothing, just let's say a particle, an atom in a room, in a dark room, is not nothing, it's not connected to anything, it doesn't have anything, but it felt. Maybe it felt a vibration from somewhere else that just simply rippled the vibration to itself. And that atom shaking to that vibration thought, what the hell was that? What the hell was that? Triggered a loop of questions over and over again, but it's rediscovering itself. So by rediscovering itself and having the compelled desire to understand what that vibration was, we are driven, we are motivated to discover what it was. And then by motivating ourselves to evolve more, as knowledge is power, as the more we know, we gain power, because that's power, we get more. So that atoms becomes more, particles come to it because it's magnetizing, because it wants to know more. Now it starts becoming more. The more you want to know, the more you become more. And the more becoming of that more, the more you discover more of yourself. Now you're becoming more. I'm not going to go into detail about how atoms magnetize certain elements to itself, and then it goes into this, because that can go really deep, so I'm not going to go there. But hopefully this answers somewhat of your question and what we are doing here and why it's all about the evolution of consciousness, and whether are you helping and contributing to it, or are you just being a character extra to it, which doesn't make it right or wrong, but it's an awareness. It's a seed that I'm planting in your conscious mind for you to remember something that maybe you basically you forgot. We came here forgetting. The game was to forget to remember. And my goal is to allow everyone to remember by planting the seeds of the information that you will need. So hopefully I'm doing a good job doing it. I'm going to leave it there. 20 minutes, a little longer than what I wanted. But thanks for watching. Blessings to all. Bye-bye.